Good morning, everybody. Hey, guys, missed you. Hope you guys are doing great. Sunday, we're back. We weren't here last week. Maybe some of you noticed, maybe some of you didn't. It is what it is. Unfortunately, I had some business to take care of, which didn't allow me to do the show last Sunday. So I missed it, and the week wasn't the same without you guys. So hope everybody is ready for today's show. We're going to get cracking, and we're going to be able to go through a bunch of subjects that I kind of wanted to talk about last week, didn't get a chance to. And we'll cover a lot of ground today, I think. We're in for at least a good hour or so of chit chat, so I hope you guys are ready for that. Give us a thumbs up if you hear me okay. I did make some slight modifications to the sound. Today I'm playing through this guy. It's plugged in, that's why you hear a bunch of rattling noises. I got a patch called Later Eddie, which is sort of, I guess, some sort of a Eddie Van Halen inspired patch. So hopefully that sounds okay. I'm not sure because I have it plugged in a different fashion today. Sometimes I notice when I'm going through my FM9, if I'm plugged in with the USB, because I'm also going through USB so I can update patches and do firmware updates and whatnot. Sometimes, even though I'm plugged into the DAW, going with a balanced output, it sometimes mixes up the sound, so you hear both. You hear like the sound coming directly from the DAW and then also from the USB, which doesn't sound as good. But anyway. So yeah, I'm playing this SG. You guys probably have seen this one before. This is the Epiphone model that I purchased, and it's not the full-fledged Gibson, but I love the color on this. I did do some minor updates to it. You may have noticed that the tuners are not the white tuners. They're a different set of tuners here. They're the tulip style tuners, which I like better, but unfortunately I think I should have actually gone with the chrome ones. I'm not crazy about the color on these. These are they're deluxe tuners. They're not inexpensive ones. These are the Goto ones, and but I think I like the chrome better after looking at them. But anyways, it is what it is. I'll see if I can eventually maybe upgrade these to the chrome ones. And I also upgraded the bridge. This is a Music City bridge, is a compensated bridge, which I think works a lot better than the standard stock bridge on this guitar. So with those two upgrades, I think it's a great guitar. Nothing else in the works for this one for now. So how's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is well. I'll go through the list since haven't seen you guys for a little bit. Just want to say hi and good morning to everybody that's here. Jack is here this morning as per usual. Good morning, Jack. I had a pretty good week. I hope you did too. Nothing out of the ordinary except getting some stuff out of the way, you know, renovations, stuff like that, which is always wreaks havoc with the schedule, because then you have like noise and you have like dust and you have all kinds of people walking around. So it's a little difficult when you're trying to get a show and you need some, you know, quiet time to get it, you know, done properly. So thank you guys for your patience on that one. J Paul is here. Hey J Paul, what's happening? J Paul's going to the grocery, he says. So he's getting some snacks, I guess, something like that. Mark is here as well. Hey Mark, what's going on, dude? You still doing those gigs regularly? Are you getting burnt out from the gigs? Still going strong, I hope. Stock up on your Red Bull. Ken is here. Good morning, Ken. J Paul did have a message, so I'll post that here. He says, happy Sunday, Gear Gang. I scored a Boss Super Overdrive pedal for 40 bucks, but it's going to be a month to get here. Wow, man, where did you order that from? a month. Is that off? I guess it's off eBay or something like that. And he says he's got a TS9 Screamer pedal and found out the Katana Crunch channel loves boost pedals. Well, you can't really go wrong with a tube screamer of any sort, I think. And the Boss Super Overdrive is, you know, it's a classic pedal to have. I don't think, again, you can't really go wrong with a pedal like that. You'll always find one way or another to use that type of pedal. And it sounds good in many different environments plays well with other pedals as well. So Boss stuff can't go wrong. Built like a tank, lasts forever. I don't think there'll be anything left over. If ever there's a nuclear war, it'll only be cockroaches and Boss pedals that'll be left on the earth. So, hey Shane, what's going on? Shane says we don't really have Black Friday in Japan. Really? I didn't realize that was sort of just an American thing, North American thing. Get ready, guys, because Black Friday is just around the corner, right? So I believe it's the 29th. It starts on the 29th of November. So that means from the 29th of November till 2025, we'll be talking about deals, Black Friday, pre-Christmas, post-Christmas, pre-New Year's, post-New Year's. We're just going to get bombarded with mock deals. I don't know if there's really many deals to be had. If there's anything you guys have already seen in terms of gear, let us know. I mean, you know, I do have something that I have my eye on that I want to order. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Do you guys know why they call it Black Friday, by the way? I was always curious about it. You know, where does this Black Friday come from? And for those of you who don't know, it's basically a financial interpretation that stuck, basically. I don't know if you know, but if you're an accountant, you usually refer to situations of either being in the red or in the black, right? So basically, if you're in the red, you're basically losing money. If you're in the black, you're making money. So Black Friday marked the point in the year where retailers were often got into the black, where they started to make money. They turned a profit. You know, from the high volume of the holiday shoppers and all that kind of stuff. So that's where the name Black Friday came from, as far as I understand it anyways. If you guys have any other explanation for it, please let me know. But that's how I understood it. I don't think Black Friday is actually a holiday, Stephen. It's not really a holiday, right? It's just a psych to get people ready to part with their hard-earned money at a time where, you know, a lot of people are definitely spending more. If you have gifts to get, or, you know, birthdays. And I have a lot of things that happen in the month of December. A lot of birthdays and stuff like that. October, November, December, leading up to Christmas is always expensive. So yeah, you know, it's everybody's vying for your dollar. But I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be any different this year. We're all going to have something that we want to spend our money on. Marcel says he ordered something, Cosmo Music, Amazon store in Canada. What did he order? What did you order, Marcel? I missed the first part of that message, I think. David's here. David says, hi, Tony. I got a cheap AMZ guitar that arrived with a neck that was improperly installed. I used your neck installation video to fix it. Now it's great. Fantastic, dude. Well, I'm glad you got it to work. It's always disheartening when something arrives and it's not in perfect condition. You can always send it back, right? But who wants to do that? If you can fix it and it's an easy fix, then why not take matters into your own hands? That's what I say. Max is here. Good afternoon, Max. Farid is here. He says, was there a poll this week? Yeah, there was, actually. Thank you for reminding me. I'll mention it here so everybody is aware if you're new. So guys, if you are new to the channel, first of all, welcome to Addicted to Gear. This is basically the Sunday live edition that we like to do on a weekly basis, where we actually take the opportunity to talk live. I think the live Sunday shows are really gaining popularity. I think more and more people are hearing about it and returning and hopefully engaging with it. I think it's a great way for us to actually communicate a little better than me just doing a review video or something like that. So it's always nice to be able to get direct feedback from you guys. And with that, I like to often just post a poll just to get feedback from you guys as well. And the poll question is usually on my channel. So if you go to the Addicted to Gear channel on YouTube and you go to the community tab, it's usually there. And I posted one like I think it was yesterday afternoon. And the poll question is, what is your favorite topic to discuss on the Addicted to Gear live show? And I just wanted to ask that question because we do cover a lot of different things, and sometimes we do get into the weeds a little bit more. We kind of go off topic. It's not always about gear and guitars, but we try and stick to those topics. And oftentimes we talk about different things, including guitar reviews, demos that I've done. We talk about pedals, we talk about amps, we talk about, tone tips and all that kind of stuff. And I think that some of those topics are more engaging for some of you than others. Some of you like to talk about certain things specifically. So it's always great for me to be able to understand what you guys like. So I wanted to ask that question and to get some feedback from you guys and see where your preference lies. So if you have an opportunity to answer that poll question, please do. I usually review the questions and look at the poll questions towards the end of the show. So you have time to do that still. All right. I appreciate that, guys. So who's new here? If you guys are new, if anybody here is new, just type in new in front of, in the chat, just so we know who you are. We can welcome you in. If you haven't already subscribed, then you are new. Please hit the subscribe button. You have to do that to be able to chat. And we would hate for you to be able, you're in the background there and you're wondering what's going on and trying to chat and you can't do it. You have to subscribe. So please do that and then you can jump right in, all right? And we always welcome newcomers here and it's an open forum. I just want to make everybody understand that. The old timers that have been here for a while understand that they can just jump in and start chatting and ask some questions. But other people might not know that. So just wanted to put that out there. And of course, if you guys like what you're hearing on this show and you like what we're doing, please give us a thumbs up. Do appreciate that as well. So let's start with the questions. What are we going to talk about today, guys? What is on your agenda this morning? What are you guys looking at? What are you guys interested in? I know some people have purchased new gear. We have Profile Productions here. He says, good morning, Tony. Got a new guitar, PRS Piezo SE. Yeah, he says. Well, that's fantastic, dude. Is this your first PRS guitar, or is this you're just growing your collection? I wonder what type of what led you to buy this guitar over maybe another model. And of course, give us the details on that guitar, what color it is, how you like it, what you're playing it through, that kind of stuff. We always love to hear when people are buying new gear. We like to live vicariously through the others here. And sometimes it'll encourage us to maybe do the same, pick up something. David said it was easier to fix it myself and he wanted to try regarding the neck situation in his guitar. That's great, David. I think, at the end of the day, if ever you weren't going to be able to fix it, you could have always sent it back, and it's kind of a learning experience after all. But yeah, that's great, man. Do it yourself. Make it your own. Marcel said it's a Stratosonic, so I think that's what he ended up buying. So Marcel, congratulations if that's one of the new guitars that you bought. Fantastic, dude. So how many are you up to now, Marcel? What is the count in the herd when it comes to guitars? How many do you own right now? Is it getting up there? Is it past the single digits yet? Or are you still in the single digits? Max says he wants a ukulele. Don't laugh, Max. Some of those ukuleles are quite good. I have one, actually. I bought it for my daughter. and she plays it every once in a while. Ukulele is one of those instruments that you can't be sad or you can't be angry or upset when you're playing a ukulele. It's just one of those instruments that no matter what you strum on it, it's a happy sound, you know? It's a happy instrument. So it's great if you're dealing with some kind of frustrations or anger issues, anger management, that kind of thing. Buy yourself a ukulele and you're automatically going to start playing happy music. So that's always good. Vinny says he's finally thinning the herd a bit. So he's going the opposite direction. So Vinny, what are you doing, man? Give me some advice. I need to do the same. How are you thinning the herd? What did you do? Did you get rid of something, Vinny? Uh, just looking back in I'm scrolling back and forth, guys, so have some patience with me. Uh, I don't see the previous message, so let us know what you're doing there, Vinny. Wow, Marcel says he's up to 15 now. And that comes with a loaded credit card. Yeah, that's the negative flip side of being addicted to gear. He says he got a new mod platform too, a Leo Jams TL in transparent violet. Wow, very cool. So Marcel, tell us, which guitar do you have out of the 15 that's your number one right now? Is it the new one? It tends to be the new one for whatever reason. You know, we buy something new, we kind of gravitate to the new one, and that becomes the number one for a while, and then slowly kind of we it sinks into its own place in the hierarchy scale of other guitars, and you figure out, okay, well, you know, it's a great new guitar, but I think it's probably the number three out of the herd or something like that. You know, we tend to do that, or at least I do that, but maybe that's a me thing. Casey says he bought 5 guitars last week and sorry, I'm reading that wrong. He sold 5 guitars last week and bought a 2000s Gibby Les Paul Trade Pro V. So how did you manage to sell so many guitars in 1 week? Did you have a fire sale, Casey? Did you like just drop the prices so that people couldn't resist? I'm having a hard time selling anything these days. I find I list stuff for a long time and it just sits there. So maybe you're doing something right. I'd like to sell a few of my less used guitars as well, put the money towards something else. I guess I'll have to work towards that. So which guitars did you sell? First of all, congratulations on the Gibby. Is that your first Gibby? For those of you that don't know Gibby, you know, Les Paul, Gibson. Which guitars did you sell? And do you miss them already? I always have a little bit of seller's remorse whenever I sell a guitar. I always feel like, even though if it's a guitar I haven't really been playing all that often, I find it's a psychological thing for me. I usually like, you know, I'll say to myself, well, you know, I haven't played it, I haven't touched it in a long time, so I'm going to flip it. And then when you do, like when somebody's finally interested in buying it, when things are getting serious, you're like, you second guess yourself and you're like, maybe this guitar isn't that bad after all. Am I doing the wrong thing by selling it? I hear those little voices in my head. So guys, this is show 231. So we've been quite active with the live shows over time. And we're going to keep on doing that. If you don't already know, it's usually Sunday 10:30 Eastern Standard Time in the AM. Sometimes I do a surprise show at other time slots, just to give an opportunity of other people in the world that's oftentimes, you know, might not be able to catch the show because of the time swing. So I give them an opportunity to see what it's all about and see if they like it. But it doesn't happen all that often. Usually the time slot is 10:30 and it kind of stays there. Casey says, the traditional Pro V, no, I listed 5 guitars on Craigslist, sold 2 Ibanez, 2 Squirts, Squires, I think, and a Schecter. Very cool. So you really weren't playing those guitars? It does feel good to clear things out. I think it's it's zen to be able to get rid of stuff that you don't play. Just it's refreshing, and it gives your bank account a little chance to breathe. Um, Boomerang, hey man, he says I recently purchased a Fender Player Stratocaster SSS Tide pool, loaded body in really good condition, and now in the process of true oiling a roasted flame maple neck I had needing a body. So you're up to a couple of different things there. First of all, I hear really good things about the Fender Player Stratocasters. Haven't had the opportunity to own one myself, but most people that I speak to are quite satisfied with the Player series. So I think you're not going to be, regretting that purchase. So congratulations on that. Everybody needs a Strat in their life, at least one or more. And I approve of your true oiling on that roasted flame maple neck. I think true oil on a neck just feels really great. So if you haven't already tried it and you're used to poly finishes on necks, give it a try if you have a neck lying around or a guitar that's not necessarily uber expensive that you want to play around with, and try true oiling the neck. Sometimes just true oil and a little bit of wax. I call it the Music Man treatment because Music Man guitars typically do that to their instruments, and that's where I fell in love with that finish when I actually had a Music Man, and I just loved the feel of the neck. It was amazing. So ever since then, whenever I have an opportunity to do that, if I buy a guitar or guitar parts for a build and the neck isn't finished yet, I tend to gravitate to that kind of finish on it. Yeah, Casey, I figured you were trying to say Squires. Steven says, I never sold a guitar, but I've given 4 away. Well, Steven, I guess that's good karma for you, man. Gene says he bought another Nauticlon. A Nauticlon. Are those things still floating around, Gene? How come you bought another one? You liked the first one so much you figured you'd buy another one, or is that a gift? I didn't buy one finally. I had my eye on it. I almost fell into the hype and purchased one myself, but at the end of the day I didn't. And so I don't know what's happening with those, if they're still as popular as they were when they were first announced. But they flew off the shelves. The guys over at JHS are becoming the Oprah Winfrey of pedals. They mention a pedal on the show and boom, they sell out. I guess people do like the comments and feedbacks that they give and the advice that they give. So I guess they want to try what they're suggesting, and it flies off the shelf. Speaking of that, I saw recently that the guys over at JHS were announcing that the Ross line of pedals that they tried to revive and put back on the market. I don't know if you guys were following any of that at all, but the story goes that Ross pedals were a brand that were around, I think, in the early 80s, and they were popular back then. They went out of business and they kind of disappeared from the market. And recently, the folks over at the JHS decided to try and revive that brand. So they actually relaunched the brand. And I guess they found out the hard way that it wasn't an easy thing to do. They were just assuming that everything would go nicely and they'd sell a lot of the pedals. But between January, when these new pedals were announced, till now, they only sold about 334 units, which is not a lot. So basically, it didn't do well. And in less than a year, they decided to announce that they're gonna kill the line. That's the bad news. The good news is that they're gonna be liquidating what they already have. So they're selling them for $79 a piece, which is, well, quite a bit less than what they were initially selling for or hoping to sell them for. They're just trying to recoup their money, I guess. So basically, if you're interested in getting one, you can get them at a discount now. Some people really like some of the models that they had. They had the compressors, they had the phaser, quite a few other ones. I never actually owned any Ross pedals back in the day. Ross wasn't a brand that I was interested in back then. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really interested in them when they were re-released either. So, it is what it is. But as I like to say, guys, oftentimes you can't reheat a souffle. When something's done, it's done. So if you're interested in them and you want to just buy one because, hey, I guess it's part of history. They're going to go the way of the dinosaur once again, unless somebody picks them up and continues the line, which I don't see that happening. You can buy them for about $80 or so. So that's a sad story, but it is what it is. I think overall, reviving a pedal company or brand in today's day and age is difficult. You don't really sell that many pedals. Even if you're a well-known, established brand, it's a tough sell. It's a tough industry. There's less and less people buying, that type of device. Apart from, I guess, the old timers like us. A lot of people are gravitating towards software nowadays and plugins and all kinds of stuff that they can do directly on their computers. So, it's not as popular as it once was. Does anybody here have any one of those original Ross pedals? So Paul says you have to buy the Ross direct from JHS. They took back the ones from the stores. Okay, so they just basically recouped all of the inventory that was floating around in the stores and now they're selling them direct. Yeah, I guess they're just trying to recoup their money. Oh well, it is what it is. Gene says all Ross pedals are sold out apparently. But Gene, to Paul's point, are they sold out or is it because they were sent back to JHS? That's why you're seeing them sold out. I'm not sure where you're looking, Gene. Are you looking on the JHS website or are you looking at some other store website? And believe it or not, if there were going to be any floating around after they mentioned it and posted this video, I'm pretty certain they were all sold out. Because a lot of people do watch the JHS videos. So once they announced there was a discount, I'm sure everybody jumped on it. So he's gonna at least recoup his money. Shane says, every few months I get the urge to buy a Les Paul, but when I get it, I'm like, why did I buy this? You have to stop listening to the little voices in your head, Shane. Next time the little voice says, do it, just say no. No. I'm not getting a Les Paul. I'm not falling for that one again. I'll buy another ESP or something like that. Wayne says he just got a new Gibson Standard in Bourbon Burst. Bourbon Burst is cool. And it ain't going nowhere fast. Okay, good. Glad you like it, dude. Again, Wayne, is that your first Gibson or? Wayne says, Eddie talked me out of buying a Frankie relic today for 2 G's. Why would you spend 2 G's on a Frankie relic? Dude, that's a lot of money. I mean, they're cool guitars, very cool, in fact. But 2 G's is a lot of money. Just saying. You may have made the right decision there. Casey says JHS blew them all out on Thursday night. Yeah, I figured that was going to happen, Casey. I saw the video. And I wasn't worried. And that's why they made the video, right? Is to basically promote the sale. It could have been a cleverly crafted campaign from the get-go. Maybe they figured, hey, we'll launch this brand, we'll produce a bunch of them, we'll say it's going under, and then, blow them out at a certain amount of money and still make some money out of it. I don't know. It seems like it could be true. It may just be a conspiracy theory that I just concocted, but hey, today anything could happen, man. You guys watched the fight, didn't you? Am I the only one that was disappointed with that fight that happened just the other day? The Tyson fight I'm talking about, of course. You guys know what I'm talking about. There was so much hoopla on that fight, and people were talking about it for such a long time. Who's going to win? Will it be Mike Tyson? Will it be Jake Paul? Mike's the old guy. Jake's the young guy. Mike's got the experience. Jake's got, the spunk. Anyways, hype. And what happened at the end of it? Not much. Except some people made a lot of money while others didn't, right? It was such a letdown. I'm not a fight connoisseur by any means. I don't necessarily watch boxing matches, but I had to watch that one. Or actually, I didn't watch it while it was happening. I just basically watched it afterwards. And I'm glad I didn't waste time watching it because it seemed very, very boring. I mean, that wasn't a fight. Come on. To me, it seemed like everything was they were just going through the motions. And it's sad that you see that happening, especially when people are paying a lot of money for some of those tickets. Rumor has it that some of the tickets went up to $44,000 a ticket. And I saw some poor sucker on Instagram posting a little clip saying this is what a $2 million seat looks like, and he's sitting there, him and his buddy, and I really do hope he didn't pay $2 million for those seats, because if he did, that's like embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing. Could have done way more with $2 million, that's for sure. But nonetheless, the boys are in good shape. Nobody got hurt. And, they're basically resting their heads on a big pile of money. And life is good, right? As a matter of fact, I saw Jake Paul post something on Instagram where he's like lying in bed and he's got stacks of dough, like, stacks of money just on his chest and lying around his body. And, it's a good thing he's not flaunting it. Anyways, that's that. But I hope you guys didn't have money on the game, on the fight. I hope. Eddie has a question here, so let's get to Eddie's question. He says, Tony, ever had a problem with staggered tuners where the B E-post hole is really low down to the headstock? Well, staggered tuners are supposed to be lower down. If it's lower, I mean, if you're saying it's so low that you can't, like, the hole is partially covered, then there's a problem. Is this an after modification that you did? Was this something that you did to a guitar of yours, or did it come like that from the store? because they are normally supposed to be lower. That's the whole point of having staggered tuners. But if they're too low to the point where you can't even get the string in the hole, it's usually, people usually have this problem when they buy these staggered tuners and they try to install them in one of their own guitars, and the thickness of the headstocks will vary on certain guitars. So if the thickness of your headstock is a little thicker than normal, you could have this problem. So let me know if that was the case. Jeff says, almost every guitar I buy, the intention is it will be replacing another or a few others. I just fail to get rid of the others. Jeff, you're talking to the right person. I do the same. You see, my theory on that is that I don't necessarily like to wait. So if there's something that I see that I really, am gassing for, then I won't necessarily try to sell something first to be able to buy that one, because I know I'll be able to sell one of the other ones eventually to cover that purchase. So I just go ahead and buy the new one, and then eventually work on selling the other one. But then I get distracted and it never seems to happen, and before you know it, you have too many guitars. So that is a common thing, Jeff. We're gonna have to create a name for that. It's a condition. It's a well-known condition that afflicts a lot of people that are addicted to gear. I just don't have a name for it yet, but I'll think about it. Yeah, Vinny says, because if they are, Godos have different height sizes. Your headstock may be too thick for the set you got. This is something that a lot of people don't realize, and that's a very good question, and that's a good thing that you asked that question, because it is true. A lot of people do automatically assume that all guitar headstocks are the same thickness, which is not actually true. They do vary. So sometimes you do have to take that into consideration when you order some. That's why I'm asking whether or not those tuners were on the guitar when you bought the guitar. Like, did it come from the store with those tuners on, or was that a mod that you made or somebody made? Zach says, Tony, I didn't watch the fight. I watched the Leafs game instead. There was probably more fighting in that game than what we saw in the boxing match, Zach. So you made the right call, dude. So here's what I got my eye on, guys. I recently saw that Behringer or Behringer. What's the right pronunciation for this? Is it Behringer or Behringer? Not really sure. I always mess them up. Anyway, I saw that Behringer or Behringer announced that they're coming out with a fuzz pedal. And I've kind of been on the fence recently about possibly exploring some kind of a fuzz pedal. And I'm not a big fan of fuzz pedals, to be honest with you guys. But I figured, what the heck, at a certain point, you should at least have one. And they're bringing back the classic, there was the fuzz bender. Well, they're calling their new pedal the fuzz bender. They're basing it on, or they're claiming that they're basing it on the old tone bender. Now, the tone bender fuzzes were out in the early days, and people like Eric Clapton were using those. Jimmy Page was using those. It's iconic. It's an iconic fuzz, but you can't really find that often these days, at least in the original incarnation. There's a lot of companies that have taken upon themselves to make recreations of that type of fuzz, and they're generally quite expensive too. I believe that one, the original, was out in 1960, 1965. So yeah, it was out for it, the history that I have on that pedal is that the tone bender was originally made or created to kind of mimic or get along the same kind of tones that you were able to get with the Maestro fuzz tone. And that was the Maestro fuzz tone was made by Gibson and was the fuzz that you hear on the Rolling Stones song Satisfaction. So I guess when that song hit, it kind of created a buzz and people wanted that fuzz tone. So then they came out with the tone bender, and there's a couple of different versions. I think there was version 1, 1.5, version 2, different types. So the one that Jimmy Page, I think, used in the early Led Zeppelin days, I believe was the Mark II version, which came out in about 1966, I think. So the thing about these pedals is that they use some very interesting components, germanium transistors usually, because fuzz usually will use germanium or silicone diodes, different things. And that's what makes them special. So anyway, long story short, the new version that they're releasing now is called the Fuzz Bender, and they're claiming it's around the same type of tones that you would get with a tone bender, and it's not that expensive. What I like about this model, as opposed to the previous ones that they had, is that it actually comes in a metal enclosure, and it's actually the same shape roughly as the tone bender was, but much smaller, because the tone bender was huge. Like it's, just about as big as a wah pedal. I don't know why it would have to be so big. There's hardly anything in it. If you look at the circuits, they're very simple. Fuzz pedals are not very complicated in terms of circuits. What I'm asking myself is, will this pedal be moddable? They don't really mention anywhere what they're using in terms of components. I went to the Behringer website to see if they mentioned this, and they don't. So I'm gonna just look one more time. It's relatively new, guys. So the Fuzz Bender just came out. There's a lot of people that are gonna be selling it but don't have it yet. Let me just see here if my local store might have some. So as far as the description goes, from what I can see here, if I look at the features section, it just says authentic vintage fuzz pedal, recapture the classic rock tones of the psychedelic 60s, all analog circuit powered by a pair of vintage transistors. That's all it says. A pair of vintage transistors. So I don't know what that means. Not really sure. The interesting thing about this version, though, is it does have a mod switch on it, which basically allows you to get two types of fuzz in one, and it is true bypass. So I'm probably going to pull the trigger on this guy. And I like the Jimmy Page sound, so why not? Is anybody here into the fuzz sounds? Dan has a suggestion. He calls it GHS, which stands for Guitar Hoarding Syndrome. Just ask my wife, he says. I can ask mine too. Trust me, they can get together. Casey says, can we talk about the Epi SG you're holding? Sure we can. What do you want to know, Casey? And Antun says, really happy with my new Gibson ES335. It's an acoustic monster. Yeah, I love the 335s. I always recommend them. They just sound so good. And they're very versatile. I think that's the big thing with the 335. A lot of people just think that you can only play Chuck Berry licks on them or something like that, which is absolutely not true. They just sound great in so many different ways. Shane wants me to review the Hello Kitty Fuzz. I didn't know they actually had one, Shane. I'll have to see how much it costs. Let me see if I could afford it. Boomerang says Fuzz with a fender is pretty cool. Yeah, I think Fuzz does sound nicer with a... Does it sound nicer with a single coil? It sounds different. Rico's also saying I should get the new Fender Hello Kitty Fuzz. Is that a thing? I guess I missed it. I guess I'll have to look into that one too. Maybe I'll buy both. David says, go for that fuzz pedal, Tony. Classic sounds. Shouldn't be too ear splitting. It all depends on how, you know, what the rest of your effects chain is, David. But yeah, probably, you know, I would just dial it into that Jimmy Page sound. That's what I'm aiming for, which can be achieved quite easily. Casey says, I can't afford one of those yet, but I just got an Epiphone Dot Deluxe. Great guitar. Maybe someday I'll get the Gibby, but maybe a 339. So Casey, you know, I've owned both. I had the Epiphone Dot Deluxe, which was a great guitar too. Great guitar for the money, especially. You can have them. You can get them for relatively cheap, especially if you buy them used. And, you know, comparing that one to my Gibson, I mean, they're not exactly the same. The Gibson, in my opinion, still had the nicer neck and overall did feel and play better. But, you know, is it, you know, $2,000, $2,500 better? That it's up for discussion. I think a lot of people will be perfectly happy with the Epiphone Dot Deluxes. A buddy of mine bought one too, and he's ecstatic over it. He loves it. So, you know, you can definitely stay below the $1,000 mark with one of those and be extremely happy until you're ready to upgrade. And yeah, maybe a 339 is a better choice because it does have the smaller body. Some people do find the 335 bodies to be a little bit too big for them. Paul says the Behringer Fuzz Bender has the Tone Bender V1.5 fuzz face and the V2 in it. I know, but I don't like the case of that one. Sorry, not the... sorry, what I meant was, I know that Behringer had other fuzz pedals before they re-released this one, the Fuzz Bender, Paul. And they had the smaller ones in the plastic enclosures, and I don't like those plastic enclosures. That's why I'm more enticed by this one. And yeah, the fact that you're saying that it does have the two pedals or two tone stacks in it make it more interesting for me as well. There's not that many videos on it yet. There's just one. And the young gentleman who did the video didn't do a lot of playing on it, so I'm curious about that. We're gonna see if the videos are gonna be popping up. Yeah, it could be that they'll only be available at NAMM. I know that a lot of the stores are taking orders for it, but maybe they're just pre-orders. All right, I'm scrolling down, scrolling here. If there's any questions, guys, put a little question mark in front of your comment so I know it's for me. And we'll talk about it. Casey Lee says, I've been out the last few weekends on Sunday. helping at mom's house, so I haven't seen that Epiphone SG yet. Oh, okay. So this is new to you. Well, this is actually, I've reviewed this guitar a while ago. This is not a new guitar. I've had it for a while now. So you can go back and take a look at my full review on this guitar. And ever since I bought this guitar, I have modded a little bit. I've added a new bridge to it, and I've changed the tuners on it. So far, that's all I did. But you can see the guitar in its full glory as it was originally in my initial review of the guitar on my channel. The Nye says, Tony, have the Maestro Fuzz Tone FZ18 purchased in the early 70s. Stones used the sound on Satisfaction. Yeah, I just mentioned that earlier, the Nye. That's exactly what I said when I mentioned that the tone bender was originally kind of mimicking the fuzz tone of the Maestro. So if you have the original, hang on to it, because it's probably going to be worth a lot of money. Eddie says, I played a used Epi 339 a while back. It was fantastic and only $200. That's pretty cheap, man. Hey, if you can still get guitars for $200 today, grab them, guys. Because it's getting harder and harder to find any good guitar for that kind of price. Guys, if you don't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. We have 60 people in the house, 40 thumbs up. Just it makes me feel good to make, to see that you guys like what we're doing here today. So if you don't mind hitting that button, I would appreciate it. Searching for Tone says, I want an Epiphone .335 from Daily Guitar Draw YouTube channel. It's great. Did a review of it. Wish I had got one a long time ago. There's something to be said for those semi-hollow guitars. They just have a different overall feel and tone to them, but it's really nice. And I do like the fact that they do have this resonance when you're playing them live, because the sound that bounces off the wall somehow gets into the body, because it does have that open design. And it just makes the guitar feel lively. If you haven't tried it yet, it's really freaky, because you do feel the guitar vibrating in your hands, and it makes it feel alive. And I really love that. David wants to know how many of us use grippy picks. That's a good question. I have so many different picks, David, that it'll vary. It depends. I'm just grabbing one off my table here, and it's the Jim Dunlop USA XL series, this one here. And I guess this one can be considered grippy. It does have the little grips on the end of it. The actual lettering make it grippy. But, I don't always use grippy picks like this one here. This is another type of pick that I have here, and it's not grippy at all. So it'll vary. I haven't played anything on this guitar, so. Guys, do you ever have that thing happen to you where you hear a riff and you don't remember the name of it? It's happened to me so many times, and it happened to me recently. What is that riff? What is that? It sounds to me like a Santana song, but I don't remember what it is. And it's been driving me nuts. Can you tell me what it is if you recognize it? And I might not even be playing it in the right key or in the right way, but it's something like that. So that's all I can remember. It's like... I don't know, something along those lines. Is it Gary Moore? It could be. Maybe it is Gary Moore. I just kind of like remember that. Is it still got the blues? Perhaps it is. I'll have to listen to it later. Maybe that's what it is. For some reason, it stuck in my brain. I wasn't really sure, and then for some reason, it sounded like a Santana song or a Santana lick or something like that. So I just associated it with Santana. But now that you mention it, maybe it is a Gary Moore lick that I heard somewhere. Wendy says, I use Jim Dunlop nylon 77 millimeters. They're really good for fast rhythm and flat picking. I like the Dunlop strings, the Dunlop picks, I mean. The Jazz 3 are the ones I like, but I like the bigger ones, because the smaller ones, my fingers are quite big, so I get too much skin when I pick with those. The extra large versions tend to not do that as much, so I like that. Casey Lee says, the loner? Not sure. And Max says, Gary Moore Pristine Walkway. It's one of those. Casey says, the girl at my local gas station gave me a small translucent grippy pick. I don't know what it is, but I love it. I think I know which ones you're talking about. It's actually, they look a lot like these in terms of the shape, but they're translucent. Yeah, I think I had one of those. I don't have my container with all my picks here in front of me, or else I'd show you what it is. I think I have one of those. They're quite good. Oh, by the way, I heard some news, guys, and I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but it's still news. Apparently, they're announcing that AC/DC will report it, or allegedly, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but are allegedly going to be touring North America in 2025. Did you guys hear about this? I saw this on social media. If it's true, could be interesting. I don't know if it's maybe a little late now, since they're getting up there in age. But I know that they still have a lot of fans out there, so some people might be happy to hear about that. Anybody here excited about that news? I'm happy that they're still doing it. But whether or not they're going to do it, if they're going to be giving 100%, that's a whole different story. But they're doing it. Also, what I heard recently, if anybody out here owns the Ampero 2 specifically, their Ampero Hotone, or Hot One, has announced that they're going to be, the new version of the Ampero will allow you to clone sounds, similar to what you can do with a few other units out there. They call it tone catch, which is basically you could record or sample the tone that you're using with this unit, which is great news. But a lot of people that had the older Ampero didn't necessarily have that function. They've announced that they're going to be doing a firmware upgrade for the older Ampero 2, which will allow it to do it as well. So that's pretty cool. If you have one and you haven't sold it yet, you might want to hang on to it, because you will be able to do that. And I think that's a lot of people do like that feature. So yeah, so just wanted to let you know if you haven't already heard about that. Paul says, Tony, Gary Moore got sued by a German guy who invented the riff and ended up bankrupting Gary. Gary died thousands in debt. Well, I don't know about that story, Paul. Didn't hear about that. Not sure if it's the whole story. I know Gary did like to hit the sauce as well. So there may have been other things happening, but I'll look into that story. Didn't know that. Corey says he would not mind seeing AC/DC again, even if they're not quite what they used to be. Hey, look, I saw a video, an early AC/DC video when they were on a show. This was in their prime at the very beginning, and you know, Angus at that time really did look like a little schoolboy. He was tiny, and he had the little hat, he had the little outfit, he even had the little backpack, and he was full of energy, man. He was just, you know, running around the stage, and he was out of control. And it actually was kind of funny because, you know, you look at it now and you're like, I don't get it as much. But back then, he did look like a little young school kid. So it kind of was a thing, and they kind of rode the wave till today. But I think it's kind of done. But it's, you know, as they say, it's a little too late to change. But it was crazy how much energy that guy had. Pretty nuts. And I'm surprised he can still do it. I mean, after all these years of shaking his head and running around, he must be full of arthritis. You know, I couldn't do that today. If I would try and mimic his style on stage the early days, I'd probably fall down. You know, I'd probably get dizzy and fall down and hurt myself and like get whiplash or something. So yeah, you know, kudos to the guy for being able to do that. It's pretty crazy. The other thing I wanted to talk about that is kind of making waves is the fact that Rick Beato has finally interviewed David Gilmour. It's funny because not that long ago, I think maybe a week ago, he released a video saying that he's never going to be able to, you know, interview David Gilmour. His people couldn't be reached, or, you know, whatever. He was trying, didn't get any feedback or anything like that. Now, all of a sudden, he's interviewed David Gilmour. So it's interesting how things work. Again, I don't know if that was just a teaser to catch our attention, or maybe that video got the attention of David Gilmour's people, but something happened. And now Rick is... he's interviewed David Gilmour, and I'm dying to see that video. I don't think it's been released yet. I think it's coming out. I know they released little clips of it, so I'm just waiting for it to be released. And I'm a big David Gilmour fan, so I love listening to these guys talk and recount stories and how things were recorded and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Casey Lee says AC/DC is the reason I bought my first SG. Yeah, I think you're not alone. You know, Casey, when it comes to SGs, I think most people will end up buying one because of Angus or Tony Iommi. You know, generally those are the guys that we associate with SGs the most. Am I wrong? I know there's other people that do play SGs now, but you know, I think those are probably the icons that we first see with SGs in their hands. I've never seen AC/DC live. Would be great to see them at least once. Would be pretty cool. If they come to North America and they happen to come here, I'd love to go. I'd love to go see them. The tickets would probably be uber expensive, but hey, it's a once in a lifetime thing, and probably the last opportunity you would get to hear them play, right? MFN says, Tony, do you play the Back in Black riff by grabbing the low notes all on the low E, or do you use the A string for all but the G sharp? I lean towards the A string, but low E sounds better. I mean, I'll play it different ways. But I know that in certain songs, and I'm not using the right... and I'm not playing the right song. I know I'm not playing the right song, but I'm trying to use this as an example. Like if you look at this song, he plays it like this. Like, he doesn't do it. You can do it this way with like the G. Like this. But he doesn't do it that way. He does it with like his thumb. I know it's not the right song, guys. I'm just showing it as an example. Don't freak out. So it depends. You can do both. Sometimes it doesn't sound right when you do it with the G style fingering. Jamel's here. Hey, Jamel. He says, been listening and watching. Just acknowledged my existence. You're acknowledging your existence, dude. That's all cool. That's all cool. And I'm glad you're here, man. Silver Bushman says, show him in a baseball. Show him in a ball cap? What? Sorry, okay, I skipped something here. So it says, Alex 2112 says, I didn't mean that as an insult to AC/DC. I love all the bands that grew up with that. They're still out there playing, the ones that still can. God bless Keith Richards. I missed the previous one. Oh, here he says, Angus looks like an old grandma with an SG. He does. I agree. But then again, they all do. If you look at all of the singers, Steven Tyler, he's looking like a grandma too. What can you do, man? Everybody's getting old. You can't stop time. Let's see here. Boomerang says, would an 80s Kramer with an original Floyd Rose be classified as a vintage Kramer or a vintage OG Japanese or ESP? I would say that they are considered vintage. I mean, it's an old guitar now. And you don't see the ones with the original Floyd Rose on them that often. They're quite collectible. So in my book, I would consider it to be vintage. Jamel says, by the way, the Band of Gypsy Jimi Hendrix Fuzz Face is the best fuzz pedal ever. So we have a big Fuzz Face fan here. That's good. Steven says Frank Zappa was my SG man. Yeah, because Frank originally did play SGs a lot. Not always, but he did play them a lot. I've seen him playing some Strats as well. So what else, guys? No more questions? Are you guys all out of questions? Oh, man. This sound I have is quite aggressive. Again, it's an Eddie Van Halen tone. Later Eddie, it's called. So I guess it's not the early Van Halen, but the older, like the more recent stuff where he did get a lot more saturated. But it's fun to play. Apparently I offended Shane. Says Shane, I asked Tony a question, but he ignored it. LOL. Shane, where's your question? Let me go back. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Everybody gets equal time here. Scrolling back, Shane, let me see. How early was that question? I'm scrolling back quite a bit. Scrolling. More scrolling. I see your comment on the AC/DC riffs. I guess that's not the question. Scrolling some more. Still scrolling. Must have been one of the first questions out of the gate, because I don't see it. Where the heck is it? I hope we're not getting the same situation happening again, where you're posting stuff and I don't see it. Okay, Shane, please. Copy and paste your question. I'm going too far back and I still don't see your question here. Tony, would you ever consider putting out signature gear if approached? You know what? I would love to, but I don't think anybody would approach me on that. I'm not a big enough name to be able to be, you know, to have like signature appeal, I would say. But yeah, you know, if they would ask me, and I would be able to at least give my feedback on how I want it to be made so that they can make it specifically to my, you know, to my liking, yeah, sure, I would do that. Why not? Who wouldn't? That'd be great. But I don't think it's ever going to happen. Ian says, did you see Squiers release the Hello Kitty guitar? That's not new. That's been around quite a bit. I've seen it before. Did they release a newer one? Because I've seen the Hello Kitty guitars floating around for quite a bit. Marcel, what are you talking about, man? Marcel says, hope I don't get banned. Definition of the day: Australian kiss, same as a French kiss, but down under. I get it, but where did this pop up from? Did I miss something? Are you guys talking about stuff that I'm missing here? Addicted to gear. Yeah, that would be cool. And Jamel's got his 1969 Strat out. That's my birth year, Jamel. That's great. As old as I am. That's old. Max says, buy your Tony extra twangy guitar strings, free shipping. That'd be cool. And Boomerang says, Tony, did you reach out to Vola or Fender for a keeper review yet? I have not. I have not. You know, it's not as easy as you guys think to get gear for reviews. There's not a lot of people that are actually going to be interested in doing that. So no, I haven't reached out to Vola or Fender. Maybe one day I will. And Ian says it got re-released. I didn't know that. I'm not a big Hello Kitty fan, and my kids are a little too old for that, so I'm not up to speed on the Hello Kitty stuff. Tony, I thought the Little Rocker Telecaster was your signature guitar. Well, it kind of is. It's not really a signature guitar, but it kind of is a guitar that I'm pretty proud of. I still have it, by the way. It's right there. I was playing it yesterday. You guys can see it there. Alex says, will Kiss ever go away? I love the way you said that. I think as long as there's money to be made, they will not go away. Why would they? What are they going to do? They're going to go check themselves into an old folks home or something? Paul says, Tony, today is good. No crashes or dropouts, which you get plagued with. Sometimes I have to reboot several times. Is that, is your computer getting older, Paul? Is that it? That's a pain when you got to start rebooting your machine in the middle of a live video stream like this. Max said that red Telecaster is cool do-yourself kit. It is. It came out really nice. I think I'm gonna. I played quite a bit, and I think I'm gonna. Let me just hold on. Let me just unplug this guy and grab the Telecaster for a minute, because Why not? It's always fun to play the Telecaster. Whoa. Always dropping stuff here. My poor headphones, man. I dropped these things so many times. I'm surprised they're still working. And I like them too. They're very comfortable. But so here is the little rocker, but I don't know if it's tuned. Let me see here. Let me just well, it is tuned, but it's tuned to E flat. Tuned-ish, not really 100% tuned, but there we go. All right, good enough. Now, of course, the sound is not the best for a Telecaster. Let me select something else here. Let me get something a little bit better. What do we got? Let's see here. Let's maybe put in some Marshall tones. That's supposed to be, let me see here. Let me try and get something with a little bit more bite to it. Let's see if a Marshall. By the way, if you guys don't know, and some of you do, this is the Little Rocker. This is a custom built guitar that I made out of parts. And I made this guitar, why? Because I wanted a double bound candy apple red guitar in the Telecaster style. And I couldn't get one for a reasonable price, so I decided to make my own. And came out quite nice. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Casey Lee says, anybody else watch the Kiss Halloween special this year? I have to watch it every year. Next up, the Star Wars holiday special. There's a couple of things I watch on a regular basis when it comes to Christmas. The stuff that I normally watch that I can't get, past because it reminds me of my childhood. I love the Charlie Brown Christmas cartoons, even though they're kind of lame. They're just, I don't know, heartwarming. The Charlie Brown Christmas tree and all that kind of stuff. It just reminds me of my childhood. I also love the original Grinch cartoons. To me, it's not Christmas if you don't watch that at least once. Love it. It's a classic. I think I bought it on DVD. I have it somewhere. And I just, Christmas comes around, you got to watch it. You got to get into the spirit. Vox says, Tony's Telecaster looks set up like I like my girlfriend. Double bound. Oh, Vox. You guys, you kill me. I still haven't decided whether or not I'm going to keep the pickups in this guitar or not. So I'm gonna. It's got a little bit of that spank in the higher end, which is good for a Telecaster, but I do like it to be a little bit more beefy. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these pickups in here. I might eventually try something else just to see. But for now, it's okay. Casey says, my favorite is the Waltons Homecoming, one of a few good memories I have with my dad. I used to, as a kid, I wasn't a big fan of the Waltons, but my parents used to watch it, and I do remember like watching a couple of episodes, never really got into it, but I do remember those. And of course, yeah, Gene says the Die Hard Christmas specials are always associated with Christmas. I don't know why, because it's just Christmas time during the movie. But, I don't know how a movie with, that much violence and stuff is associated with Christmas other than it's Christmas time. And of course, then there's the Home Alone thing, right? The Home Alone movie that everybody tends to want to watch around Christmas time as well. So Max says, Tony, did you put a brass saddle into that red Telecaster? You have to do it. They are brass compensated saddles. You can see for yourself there. Yeah, I tend to go brass. So Jamel says, so what type of music do you and your band play? Jamel, it's all over the place, man. It's mostly classic rock stuff. Everything from, it could be from, Beatles, Cream, Rolling Stones. We throw in some new stuff as well. We do play some Creed. We do play some, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, a little bit of everything, man. There's not like, some Led Zeppelin, of course, and all kinds of stuff, just everything. So anything that we like that sounds good and that we can swing usually sticks. Marcel says you should talk to Chris from Peg City about your pickup needs. Thanks for the advice, Marcel. I'm pretty sure I'm the one who mentioned Peg City here to begin with, but yeah, I'm aware. I know they come out with great stuff. I might reach out to him again and see if he can, custom roll something for me. Max says, cool brass saddles on Telecasters bring out the best sounds. They do sound pretty different. I like brass. And Silver Bushman says, Lindsay Fralin pickup blade pickups he's suggesting. I never put a blade pickups in any of my guitars. They sound a lot different than regular pickups, so I don't know if I'm ready for those. And Boomerang says, I really like the 50s Alnico 3 pickups. The 60s are nice too. The ones I find I like a lot are the Tone City pickups as well, because they do have a hybrid version where 3 of the poles are Alnico 5s and 3 of the poles are Alnico 3s or Alnico 2s. I don't remember right now. But they have it's really a nice set, and they're not that expensive either. Casey said he put Twang King Chopper T's in his Telecaster build. And Vox says everyone name drops Barden when talking Telecaster pickups, but I've never tried them. Yeah, because they're pretty expensive. The Barden pickups tend to be pretty expensive. And David says, I just installed brass compensated saddles and was amazed at how well they intonated. That's why I like them on most of my Telecasters. I like them a lot better than the rounded saddles, because you do have more play, more flexibility. Yeah, there's a lot of great pickups out there. It's just hard to, figure out which ones you want to try, because it's hard to buy a pickup on reviews alone or just feedback that people give you, because you're not playing it through the same gear, so you really don't know how your specific guitar will react to those pickups. You almost have to, it's trial and error, and you don't want to necessarily end up with a stack of pickups lying around that you don't like. So I tend to gravitate to the ones that I've tried before and I like. The Tex-Mex pickups, I agree, Max. It's a good choice. They have a nice bite to them. I do have a Telecaster here that does have the Tex-Mex pickups in them, and they sound really good. I'm glad to hear that, Marcel. I'm glad to hear he was able to help you out with your pickups. Yeah, they make great stuff. DMAC wants to know, are Fender Custom Shop Series pickups worth the money? Prices seem a bit high to me. Some of them are. I once purchased an American, it was a Strat, and it was a great sounding Strat, and the pickups in that guitar, I can't remember the model now, but I remember they sounded so good that I wanted to use those pickups. I wanted to buy a set of those pickups and put them in another Strat that I had, and they weren't selling those pickups separate at the time. They may have changed now, I don't know, but at the time you were only able to get that particular pickup set in that particular guitar, and you couldn't buy them separately. And I was a little bit miffed about that, but it is what it is, and they sounded fantastic. I don't remember which pickups they were. Zarly Z says, Tony, do you own any PRS guitars? Yes, I do. I have a few. I've shown them on my channel before. I alternate on Sundays, Zarly. So, I'll show a few. Like I have this one. There's a PRS. I'm sure there's a PRS in my stand there. There's two PRS guitars in my stands right there. But those are not the core models. Those are the SE models. I do have a core model too. I can show you one of those if you want to see it. Here, I'll grab one. What the heck? Give me a sec, guys. It's turning into show and tell again. Give me a second. So this one is a 245 model, and this one is basically an import version of the 245 core model that I have. I grabbed this one because it's always nice to have a cheaper version when you don't want to necessarily take the expensive one out for gigs and whatnot. So I have this one. Of course, it's going to have to be tuned because it's not. Let me just tune it up real quick for you guys. It's not tremendously off. It's actually pretty good. Surprised, actually. The B string is always a little off, but not too much. There we go. That should be better. And so... there's a lot of reasons to own an SE as opposed to a full-blown core model. I mean, they're getting more and more expensive now. As time goes on, I just see the prices going up and up. Where the core models, they tend to, you can still get them for some pretty good prices used, at least around here. And, just slap a couple of pickups that you like in them. Sometimes the core model pickups, they're going to be a lot better than the ones you get on the SE models. But, the SE models are not bad. I tend to upgrade the pickups on my guitars sometimes. But at the end of the day, you can always just do a quick update on the pickups if you don't specifically like the SE models. Do I find the neck what? I have a PRS SC McCarty. Man, the neck is like a baseball bat. It depends on the model, man. They're not all the same. I tried the McCarty. I actually wanted to get one when they first came out, and then I tried it and I didn't like it. And all of the different guitars have different necks. It depends on which ones you're looking at. This one I like a lot. It's not that different from my Gibson neck. The neck on my Gibson guitars. Some of them are wider. Like I'm sure if you go out and buy yourself a Tremonti model, it's probably going to be wider and thinner. But this one is not a baseball bat by any means. It's very comfortable. Ian says I only have a PRS SC20 Custom 24. I used to have a Core 24, not an SC, and that's one I didn't like as much. I like these more. I like the 245s. The scale length on these ones, for whatever reason, just feel more comfortable to me. And on the PRS, I tend to like the semi cut. I don't really like the double cut ones as much. I do agree with DMAC in terms of the quality of the SE models. They're good guitars, and I haven't had issues with them, any type of issues in terms of construction or any kind of defects or anything like that. So I like them. I think that for the money that you get these guitars for used, and the features you get with it, and you know, like I said, you just have to upgrade the pickups. It's fantastic. You know, they're well worth. I think they play better than the amount you pay for these things on the used market. So this is one of them. The other one I have back there is very similar. Not the same, but similar. I'll show you that one. So this one's an earlier model. It's a Zach Myers SE. Those that are not familiar with the Zach Myers SE, it's got a little bit of a hollow thing happening here, so it's a little bit of a lighter guitar. The neck on this one is not that different from the other one, and I did swap out the pickups on this one as well. So what you're hearing here are low output pickups. Let me just let me tune this one up a little bit before I play this one. Yeah, oh, pretty good, not bad. So this one, you can hear. Oh, there we go. See, there we go. So the switch on this one is getting a little sticky. This guitar has low output pickups that I bought from Sanford Magnetics. And I don't know if you ever tried Sanford Magnetics pickups, but they're, I don't even know if he's still around. Let me just see here. So Sanford Magnetics makes awesome pickups, guys, in case you're looking for a place to buy good quality pickups. He's got great stuff, and I don't know if he still has the model that I have here. I'll share it with you. I'll make you see if I can find it on his website. So here is the website. So Sanford Magnetics, and I'm going to go to pickups, and I'm going to go to humbuckers here, and the model that I have here is this one here, model 68V. So I don't know if, let me see, 68V here, which basically says the model 68V came about after a discussion with a player that believed that some of the best sounding original PAFs were very low output. Before the days of the auto stop, the workers would just let them wind until the coils looked full. This is the reason why the original PAFs are all over the place and not all of them sound good. This model had a specific intention behind it to allow the guitar's voice to come through. The target DCR was 6.8 on the bridge. After hearing the result and feedback from the player, this is now a standard model in the lineup. So 6.8. This model is only available as a calibrated set, and it's not inexpensive, but it is in Canadian money, so it's $278 for a set. But they do sound fantastic. And I do agree that the lower the output, the more tone you get out of the actual pickups, in my opinion. It's not Sanford and Son, Sanford Magnetics, and yeah, he definitely makes some great quality pickups. And if you want to reach out to him, tell him I sent you, and he'll hook you up, man. He makes good stuff. Thanks, Max. I do like this guitar a lot. I do have to put a little contact cleaner in the switch. I haven't actually used it all that much. Hey, Music and Gear, what's up? Zarly Z says, Soul Tone makes amazing pickups and is out of Ontario. I'll have to check him out. There's so many great pickup winders out there. It's hard to keep track of them all. But yeah, if anybody is located in Canada and makes great pickups, I'm happy to promote their stuff if they sound good. I'm a big advocate of like just putting the pickups you like in the guitar that you have, because you know some people just struggle with the tone of a guitar for so long and eventually just end up selling the guitar because they don't like the tone. And it's like selling your entire stereo system because you don't like the speakers. You know, if you don't like the tone of your guitar, start with the pickups, experiment, and soon you'll be able to find exactly the ones that make your guitar sing, and you can still keep that guitar that you love so much. You know, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, I don't think. All right, guys, I think we're going to look at the poll question now because I have been chit-chatting here for about an hour and a half. we want to wrap things up a little bit. Let me just go back to the poll question here and see what you guys tell me in terms of suggestions of what we should be talking about in the future. 77 votes on our poll, and it looks like the number one answer out of the bunch, and the people that are just tuning in, I asked the question, what's your favorite topic to discuss on the Addicted to Gear live show? And the options were A, guitar reviews and demos, B, pedal talk and effects discussions, C, amp comparisons and recommendations, and D, tone tips and playing techniques. So surprisingly, the number one answer at 49% is guitar reviews and demos. I think that's clear. It's clear why we are all here on a regular basis. It's mostly for guitars and demos, right? So I'm not surprised that 49% of you prefer that topic. The others are interesting though, because number 2 is tone tips and playing technique. So apart from guitar reviews and demos, you guys are interested in tone tips and playing technique. So that's pretty cool. It's something that I don't normally do on my channel all that often. So maybe I should start focusing a little bit more on that. Seems like most of you are into that. Number 3, pedal talk and effects discussion. So pedals are not like, it's only top 3. I would think more of you would be into pedals, but it looks like it's not as important for you guys. And last in the lineup is amp comparisons and recommendations. So that's surprising to me, because I would think that it would be guitars, amps, pedals. But instead, I see guitars, tone tips, and then pedals, and then amps at the very end. So it looks like a lot of you guys are not that interested in amps, which is interesting. Huh. Very interesting. That's an eye-opener for me. There were a couple of comments, so I'll read that. One of you said all of the above. Well, that's good to hear. Another person said they are all very good. Effects and amps change the most. That's why I picked pedals. Okay, fair enough. I appreciate the input, guys. Thank you for taking the poll. Dan said, I assume the aux box helps with the degree of feedback that you would receive when playing a hollow body so close to the amp. Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, if you're not, you can play the aux box completely silently. So if you're recording and you're playing with a semi-hollow, you can be playing with an extremely high amount of gain and the guitar won't feedback at all. You wouldn't be able to do that in a real room scenario. This is why the aux box is a great piece of kit, and I'm glad I got it. At the beginning, I didn't really, think I'd be using it all that much. Didn't think I need it, but when I started using it, if you like playing through amps, that's the only way to go. So, highly recommend that piece of gear. J. Paul's absolutely right. Says pickup choice is so important to voicing of the tone. I try to have a variety. Me too. Especially if there's a couple of guitars that are very similar, like my PRS guitars, like this one and the other one that I just showed you. It's nice to have different style pickups in them so that they're not, so close. Because otherwise you're almost playing like it's redundant, right? This way you get to enjoy the nuances of each one with different pickups. Gives you just a little bit more. So Zarly says, he's responding to Eddie. He says, I agree with you on that one. I tried a few guitars I wanted, but didn't end up buying because I didn't like the neck. And this is something that I say all of the time. I'll say it again. If you don't like the neck on your guitar that you're playing in the store, even though you like everything else about it, don't buy that guitar. Because eventually you will not like that guitar. The neck is so important, guys. If there's anything that you really don't like about it and it's bugging you right when you're trying it out in the store, it's just going to get worse later on. So you might as well just leave that guitar, put it back Put it back on the wall. Keep looking. I say that over and over again. Looks can be inspiring, and sometimes we do buy on looks. You'll end up buying a guitar because, you know, it's the color you like, you know, the finish you like, or something about, you know, the wood grain, and, you know, and you want to like it so much, but then when you end up trying it, it just doesn't speak to you. So you want to be careful, because it's easy to get enticed by something sexy and then regret it later on, you know. Max says, I'm only here for the dancing girls. I'm still waiting. You might have to wait a little longer, dude. Vox says, I play unplugged acoustic mostly, so amps and pedals are further down the list for me. Well, that actually reminds me. Thank you for reminding me, Vox. Did you guys see the last video I put out on the Donner hybrid acoustic guitar? It's a mix between... and I have it right here. I can actually show it to you. I might actually pull it out. It's a hybrid guitar. It's a mix of carbon fiber and wood. And a lot of people didn't get it. I'm going to take that guitar out for you guys and show you that guitar. Because I just wanted to touch upon just something real quick. Give me a second, guys. Okay, I got to put this guitar somewhere. So. It's this one. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to put this guitar here. If that guitar falls, you guys are going to have... You're going to laugh at me. So this... Gonna lower. So I did a review on this guitar. Now it might be out of tune, but this is a guitar that I reviewed on my channel. It's the Donner hybrid. It's wood back, neck, and sides, carbon fiber top, and it's a great guitar in terms of somebody who wants to have carbon fiber, but not necessarily get into the entire guitar in carbon fiber. I've reviewed guitars that are entirely made of carbon fiber, and they do have a different tone. This guitar also has a different tone, but I think it has the best of both worlds, being that the neck has a really nice wooden feel to it, the sides and the back are wood as well, so you do have the warmth of the wood. So you have, you don't get that plasticky sound as much. Anyways, I just wanted to show it to you guys because I did a review on this guitar, and I believe these guitars are even going on sale during the Black Friday event, so you can get them for even cheaper. And I like this guitar because it's actually smaller. It's actually a lot more, it feels more compact, and it's something that I really like. So if you haven't tried it and you're looking for something, and you're not afraid of new technology, you know. Now, Boomerang says the sound hole needs to be under the strings. It could be under the strings. Who says it needs to be under the strings? So there you have it. Oh, wow. Just to give you a little taste, if you want to watch the video, just click on the link. I did a full review on it with some other playing samples as well. And that's it, you know. Just wanted to share that with you. It's nice to be able to try new stuff and not necessarily be stuck with the traditional things. If you already have an acoustic guitar that's, you know, traditionally made of wood, it's fun to try new things. And I like this one. I think it's pretty good. Boomerang says that was one of the first Led Zeppelin songs I ever learned. Cool. And Corey says really nice sounding guitar. Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, that's it. I'm going to leave it at that for today. Go and check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Stay tuned for the new stuff that's coming up. And more importantly, circle next Sunday on your calendar so we can do it again. And if you have any questions, jot it down so you don't forget, so that we'll be able to talk about it next week. And just enjoy another weekend morning show together and have some fun. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here and making my Sundays a lot of fun. And go out and play your guitars and then, you know, have some fun this weekend. Enjoy yourself. Monday's back to work, guys, so make it last. All right. Cheers. See you guys soon.